Welcome back to Education Nation. I am your host, Dr. Mateen Diop, again, welcoming you to the very first episode of Education Nation right here on Black Video News. We are so excited to be bringing you all this information, all this news about education in Bexar County, and not even just Bexar County, the entire state of Texas and the world, because we talk about K-12, we talk about college, we talk about higher ed, whatever it takes to get the knowledge to you, that's what we're going to do. So today we're talking about Judson ISD. We're going to be talking about Houston ISD, a lot of things. But remember, you can always find me at www.drmateendiop.com. Pick up a copy of my latest book. You want to shoot me an email, mateen@drmateendiop.com, and we can have more of a discussion. Follow me on all the social media platforms at Dr. Mateen. Again, I'm open to all kind of comments, good and or bad. So just bring it on, because we're going to be talking about everything. So this next part I want to talk a little bit about is Houston ISD. Now, there's a whole lot of discussion around Houston ISD, and some of it warranted, some of it not. But if you don't know, Houston ISD is the largest school district in the state of Texas. It has several 100,000 students, and they just continue to grow. When Houston, Texas is like that anyway. But Houston ISD was taken over by the state a couple of years ago, and they were appointed a superintendent. Mike Miles is the superintendent. He came out of Dallas, Texas, and he was appointed the superintendent of Houston ISD. So what does that mean, appointed as a superintendent? So that means the Texas Education Commissioner, Mike Morath, said Houston ISD is performing so poorly in whatever area they say. They're performing so poorly that the state has to come in and take over that school district and appoint a superintendent. Normally, superintendents are hired by the school board. The school board is elected by the community. Each community has a certain district that they represent. They hire a school board member. Those school board members are on that board, and they hire a superintendent. Well, that whole process was pretty much taken away. The state came in, the Secretary of Education came in, hired Mike Miles to be the superintendent, got rid of the elected school board, and appointed what they call a board of managers. And now that's how Houston ISD is run. So good, bad, it's up for debate, but that's how it's run. The issue is the academics of Houston ISD and the STAAR test. And before I go a little bit out in Houston ISD, let's talk a little bit about the STAAR test. The STAAR test is the State of Texas Assessment of Academic Readiness. It's a test that's given every year to all students in Texas, public and charter schools, starting at the 3rd grade. They take everything from reading, science, math, all these subjects every single year. They take a STAAR test. Lots of families are against the STAAR test. There are some who care less about the STAAR test. Myself, as a principal, I had no problem with the STAAR test. I thought it was a good thing, because it let me know how my students were faring. And people would say, well, the STAAR test doesn't tell you everything. And saying, I get it. But if you've been in a school and you know that what you're doing and you want to know how what you're doing is work, you have to assess it. And the way we assess it in Texas, of course, is the STAAR test. So people have all of this argument about, does the STAAR test work? So in Houston ISD, one particular high school, I think it was Cashmere High School, one of the high schools had failed the STAAR test several years in a row, which warranted the state coming in saying, we're going to take over the school. But in this case, it took over the entire school district, which I had never heard of something that brass happening that fast, but it did. So now, superintendent is in there now, Mike Miles, and he's instituted what he's called a NES system, new evaluation system or something like that, where they pay schools if they opt into this NES system. The teachers get paid more, the administrators get paid more. There are lots of perks, apparently, that go along with the NES system. I'm not a part of that system, so I can't talk a whole lot about it, but I can tell you that the teachers and then the students in those NES programs in Houston ISD, they just get more perks and more benefits. And again, in order to boost academic improvement. And how do you measure if you're boosting academic improvement? The STAAR test. So that goes back to that whole conversation about the STAAR test. So if you are a high school student, 9th grade, you're going to take, I mentioned this before, you're going to take English 1, you're going to take algebra, you're going to take bio. When you get to the 10th grade, you're going to take English 2, and you're going to take, another test. And it just goes all the way up to your junior year of high school when you've taken all of them. Before you can graduate from high school, you have to take and pass all portions of the STAAR test. There are 5 of them. You have to take and pass all 5 of those, and you have to get 20-something high school credits before you can graduate. And if you are not doing that successfully, again, the state can come in and take over any school district. Houston is not the only district that's been taken over. They're taking over schools in the Valley. I believe El Paso, they hired a board of managers or a conservator in El Paso. So it's not uncommon for the state of Texas to come in and do what they need to do. But in Houston ISD in particular, if you look at, I'm gonna bring up this website. Let's look at the accountability ratings. So if you look at the 2023 accountability ratings, this is the letter grade. These are the letter grades, right? Elementary schools, score 75, letter grade C. This is from 2023. Now, when the STAAR test is taken and the results come out, in the past, those results were made public. Anybody could go to the state of Texas website and look at how their particular school or any school is how they're doing on the STAAR test. Well, when a couple of years ago during COVID or right when COVID ended, everybody took the STAAR test and the scores weren't that good, so the state was going to release them, but they got into a lawsuit. And so that lawsuit said that they can't release the scores publicly. The campuses, they actually get their results. Schools get their results. School districts get their results, but they just don't release those publicly. But these are the results of Houston, for example, in 2023. So again, when you get your STAAR results, you get a letter grade. So you can see the letter grade here. Hope you can see that. This Alcott Elementary got a C. You see this school, Anderson, F. And you just go on down the line and you can see, I'm just going to bring up the letter grades so you can see what I'm talking about here. C, D, F, B, D, F. So unless you have an A or a B as a principal, of course, you don't want this data to be shown publicly, but you can see the F grades. And apparently, in a couple of years ago, when COVID first ended, the state was going to release that, and more schools across the state had Fs, and they didn't want anybody to know about that, so they don't release that data anymore. But these are a lot of elementary schools, most of the elementary schools in Houston ISD, and you can see letter grades, C's, D's, and F. So that's what we want to address here. One of the things I want to talk about in the future is how to actually read those STAAR results, and more to follow on that. But again, when we come back on the other side of the break, we're going to talk a little bit more about Houston ISD and what's to come with this year's STAAR testing. So stick around. See you in a minute.